Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by Chief of Staff Erskine Bowles, Secretary of Labor Alexis Herman, Senator Mike DeWine, Representative William Goodling, Representative William Clay, and James Antozzi.
Okay. Mr. President, members of Congress, friends, good morning. 6 years ago, President Clinton outlined a vision to prepare and position America's workers for the 21st century. He said that the old ways won't work for the new economy. He said that we need a job training system that is user-friendly and logged onto the future, one that empowers Americans to take charge of change and challenge, because we know that businesses can't prosper without skilled workers, and we know that workers can't profit without the right skills. It's been a long road to the Rose Garden, and it didn't come easy. In fact, I'm reminded of the actor who said when he finally made it big, it took me 20 years to get here, to become an overnight success. Well, it has taken us more than a few years to be here today, but we are here. And we are here thanks to the vision of our president, who put this issue on the agenda and kept it there. We are here because of the initiatives of states and communities who took ideas and proved that they worked in backyard America. And we are here because of the commitment of leaders from both chambers of Congress and from both sides of the aisle. This today is a clear example of the good that results when we put partnership over partisanship. And we could have had no better partner in this effort than Senator Mike DeWine. He wasn't simply engaged in this process. He was hands-on, and he was hands-on through every step of the way of this process. He made a real difference, and I'm very pleased to introduce to you now my good friend and good partner, Senator Mike DeWine.
Mr. President, Secretary Herman, and all of my colleagues in Congress who are here today. Today's bill signing represents the culmination of years of work by these and many other individuals. People like our friend Dan Barry of Cleveland and other private citizens who helped us so much with this bill. This bill truly represents a bipartisan consensus. A bipartisan consensus that when it comes to job training, the status quo is simply not acceptable. In America, no one must be left behind. In America, everyone must be given the competitive skills that are necessary to prosper in the new global economy. This bill is a major stride forward for an America based on work, not welfare. This truly is the crucial second stage of welfare reform. This bill represents a firm commitment to the economic future of our children. I'm thinking now of young people like David Lamond, whose mother wrote me that he was being kept out of a summer jobs program by burdensome federal requirements. And this is what she wrote, and I quote, I'm saddened that the one most in need is disqualified because he is fatherless and tried to help the family with 12 hours work per week, end of quote. With this bill, Mr. President, we are bringing down these barriers. And this bill includes vocational rehabilitation programs, another necessary part of making sure that no Americans, including disabled Americans, are left behind. In the 21st century, America has the opportunity to lead the world's economy more strongly than ever before. And that's why organizations representing businesses, large and small, across this country were so helpful in getting this bill passed. We have to do everything we can to make sure that our children are truly ready to lead. That's really what this bill is all about. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce the Honorable William Clay of Missouri, a man who has dedicated 30 years of his life in the United States Congress to improving the lives of America's workers.
Mr. President, Secretary Herman, I'm very pleased that we have finally revamped the job training programs so that we can now meet the challenges of the 21st century. Mr. President, you have long championed the fight to modernize our workforce training system so it works better for America's workers and is more responsive to the new economy. You call for a system that streamlines services, enhances accountability, increases flexibility, and involves business, labor, and community leaders in designing a first-class job training system. Mr. President, this bill incorporates these critical priorities and builds on the GI Bill for workers you so forcefully advocated. For today's working families, access to high-quality, flexible job training and education opportunities has never been more critical. There's a strong and irrefutable link between education levels and a worker's ability to land a good job with decent wages. This investment in a new cutting-edge job training network will allow more Americans to share in the new prosperity. This bill consolidates the current patchwork of training programs, creates strong one-stop career centers, enhances accountability, and contains critical programs for our young people. It also includes the Youth Opportunity Areas initiative that will create jobs and opportunity for out-of-school youth in high-poverty areas. So I commend Chairman Goodling and McKeon and Ranking Member Kildee and Senators Jeffords, Kennedy, DeWine, and Wellstone for efforts to pass this critical measure. I would now like to introduce my good friend, Bill Goodling, who was instrumental in passing this legislation in the House. Bill Goodling.
Thank you, Doug. Today, President Clinton is signing historic legislation that will fundamentally reform federal job training and literacy programs across the country. The Workforce Investment Act is a great accomplishment for this Congress, which developed this common sense legislation with the help of so many and brought it forward for the President's consideration. The law is a big step toward reforming for the 21st century this nation's employment, training, and literacy programs. This ends an era of ineffective and duplicative federal job training programs by consolidating 60 such programs into 3 block grants. When I became chairman, OMB indicated that there are at least 166 federal job training programs spread out over all agencies and departments. I think there was one named for every member of Congress that retired. The new law provides for individual choice and realities of our nation's labor market. Learning from the state's preliminary experience of effectively implementing welfare reform, this act will pragmatically move welfare recipients from welfare to work. The new law will transfer funding and decision-making authority out of Washington to states and local communities for the design of local workforce investment programs. It will also greatly increase training opportunities for the high-demand jobs in technology and science, for which the President has been an advocate and an ally. Our work establishes a revolutionary idea, a single delivery system for adult employment and training that maximizes choice in the selection of occupations. It encourages an employment-first approach to training where individuals purchase training through certificates. Clearly, the Act sets up a system of job training that works for ordinary Americans and responds to the needs of the market. It is the type of federal job training system we should have had a long time ago. I thank the President and my colleagues in Congress for their hard work in forging the Workforce Investment Act. In particular, I want to thank members of my committee for their work in the area, especially Congressman McKeon, Chairman of the Subcommittee on Post-Secondary Education, Training, and Lifelong Learning, who deserves much credit for moving the legislation forward, and for the Ranking Member, Congressman Clay, and for Congressman Kildee, whom I've worked with for a long time. Let me express my appreciation to the Senate conferees for their efforts in making this legislation become law, especially Senator Jeffords, the chairman of the Labor and Human Resources Committee, and Senator DeWine, the chairman of the Employment and Training Subcommittee. And I'd be remiss if I really didn't thank the staff, and particularly Mary Gardner Claggett. I think she was Mary Gardner when she started on this many, many years ago. And Darcy Phillips. I want to thank the governors who played such a wonderful role in putting it together. And I would be surely remiss if I didn't thank Secretary Alexis Herman. In fact, we had about 3 or 4 conversations in the last 2 weeks, and my last conversation was, it's now up to you. You either make it or we don't, and she did. So today is a new beginning for job training in this nation, and everyone assembled here today should be proud to have been a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Goodling, and we did make it. I can say to you, as someone certainly who has worked for our President and our Vice President, literally from day one, the bill that we will be signing in a few moments will truly be a special moment, because this is an issue that both the President and the Vice President kept on the agenda since day one. And starting today, the power will truly flow from the President's pen to the people's hands. It will flow into the hands of Americans who want to, as you have already heard from our members, who want to upgrade their skills, who want to raise their incomes and climb higher. The power will also flow into the hands of a new generation of workers living in disadvantaged areas. Young people like Benny Hernandez, who is here with us today. Not long ago, Benny was caught up with a gang on the streets of Houston, but thanks to a pilot youth training program, he traded his gang bandana in to earn a cap and a gown. He's working 2 jobs now and attending the University of Houston. He's going to become a parole officer and help other kids get off the streets. And by the way, I should add that he has a 4.0 average. Benny, I know you're out there someplace. Would you please stand? Benny, stand so that we can recognize you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. This bill is going to help young people like Benny find their way to hope and a better way of life. And finally, we know that the power will flow into the hands of Americans who have been in the workforce for years and face the challenges of a changing global economy today. People like Jim and Tosi. Jim was laid off from his job when his company downsized. He lives in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania had actually established a demonstration program for training accounts or skill grants. Jim was able to use that grant to finish his college degree and to go to the school of his choice. And today he is on a new job and he's earning a lot more money. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim and Tosi.
Mr. President, representatives, senators, Madam Secretary, wow, got them all. My name is Jim Antosi. I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania. In 1995, I became a dislocated worker because my company had downsized their East Coast operation. I was faced with fear and unknown of unemployment. My many years in the computer field looked good on the resume, but most employers at the time were looking for degrees, and I did not have one. The prospect of beginning over again was daunting, and the ability to maintain my lifestyle was in jeopardy. I was introduced to a pilot program called Pen Card when I was signed up for unemployment. I was asked to present a proposal of how Pen Card could help me regain my position in the workforce. I requested that they allow me to finish my bachelor's degree, which I had been working on for the previous 5 years. They agreed to provide me with the means and support to complete my degree at the school of my choice and in the program I wanted. In 1996, I graduated from Alvernia College with a bachelor's degree in computer science. In the last half of that year, I was approached by Arcus Staffing Resources in Lancaster, Pennsylvania with a job offer which I accepted, and today I've been with that company for 3 years. I can never thank the people of Pen Card enough, especially my caseworker, June Cole, and the director of the program, Pat Adamczyk, for their support, which provided me with the flexibility to make my own decisions about my future. I am proud to be here today to witness the signing of this new bill, which will help millions of other workers. I would like to thank the Congress and the President for their foresight and to understand the plight of people like myself who find themselves downsized in this fast-paced economy. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the President of the United States, William Clinton. Fine job. Good for you. Thank you for doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Antozzi, Benny Hernandez, examples of what we come here to celebrate and enhance today. Thank you, Secretary Herman, for your leadership on this bill, which was so essential to its passage. Chairman Goodling, Senator DeWine, Congressman Clay, Congressman McKeon, Congressman Kildee, many other members of the House of Representatives who are here, Senator Jeffords and others who are not here, who along with Senator DeWine worked on the passage in the Senate. I'd also like to thank the representatives of the National Association of Counties and other local groups who are here. And I will say more about all of you in a moment. I hope you will understand why I feel the need to comment on the fact that early this morning, bombs exploded outside 2 of our American embassies in Africa. An explosion in Nairobi, Kenya, killed and wounded scores of people. We have reports that several Americans are among the dead. Another explosion in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, also caused many casualties. At this time, there are no reports that any Americans were killed in that attack, although our embassy appears to have been the target. Both explosions caused large-scale damage to our embassies and to surrounding buildings, as you may have already seen from the pictures coming in. Though the attacks appear to have been coordinated, no one has yet claimed responsibility for them. As I speak, we have dispatched Defense Department and State Department-led emergency response teams to the region. The teams include medical personnel, disaster relief experts, criminal investigators, counterterrorism specialists. We have taken appropriate security measures at our embassies and military facilities throughout the region and around the world. These acts of terrorist violence are abhorrent, they are inhuman. We will use all the means at our disposal to bring those responsible to justice, no matter what or how long it takes. Let me say to the thousands and thousands of hardworking men and women from the State Department and from our other government agencies who serve us abroad in these embassies, the work you do every day is vital to our security and prosperity. Your well-being is therefore vital to us, and we will do everything we can to assure that you can serve in safety. To the families and loved ones of the American and African victims of these cowardly attacks, you are in our thoughts and prayers. Out of respect for those who lost their lives, I have ordered that the American flag be flown at half-staff at all government buildings here at home and around the world. We are determined to get answers and justice. Thank you very much. Now, we are here to do something very important for America's long-term future today. I mentioned the congressmen and senators who played a leading role who are here. I'd like to also acknowledge those who are out there whose names I have, and if I make a mistake, stand up and be recognized. If I say you're here and you're not, just let it go. In addition to Senator DeWine and Chairman Goodling and Mr. Clay and Mr. McKeon, Mr. Kildee. We have here Congressman Barrett, Congressman Chaka Fattah, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Representative Dennis Kucinich, Representative Carrie Meek, Representative Dan Miller, Representative Patsy Mink, Representative Louis Stokes, Representative Steve Latourette, Representative George Brown, Representative Paul Kanjorski, Congressman Bruce Vento, Congressman Donald Payne, and Congressman Tim Romer with his own version of America's Future in his lap. I'd also like to thank again Alexis Herman and Erskine Bowles and all the people on my staff for their role in this, but one person above all who has been with me since 1991 and who shared my dream of consolidating this blizzard of government programs into one grant that we could give a person who was unemployed or underemployed so that they could decide, as Mr. Antozzi did, what to do with the help we were giving them on the theory that they would know their own best interests and be able to pursue it. And that is Gene Sperling, who has worked on this for years and years. This is his heart is in this bill, and I want to thank him as well with all the staff people in Congress. Secretary Herman said that this bill fulfills principles for reform of our workforce training program that I outlined in my first campaign for president over 6 years ago, and that the Vice President set out in our National Performance Review. It is a model of what we should be doing, and also the way we did it is a model of how our government ought to work. It was a truly bipartisan American effort. This morning, we received some more good news about our economy. Even though the latest economic report shows the effects of the now settled GM strike, we still see that over the past year, wages have risen at more than twice the rate of inflation, the fastest real wage growth for ordinary Americans in 20 years. This past month, our unemployment rate held firm in spite of the GM strike at 4.5%. For nearly a quarter century, not once had our nation's unemployment rate gone below 5%. It's now been below 5% for 13 months in a row. We have low unemployment, low inflation, strong growth, and higher wages. But to maintain this momentum, we must continue to change and move forward. Over the long run, in the face of daily new challenges in the global marketplace, we simply must press forward with the economic strategy outlined 5.5 years ago. Fiscal discipline, expanded trade, investment in our people and communities. To maintain fiscal discipline, we must save every penny of our surplus until we save the Social Security system. To maintain exports, we must immediately support the international efforts to stabilize our customers in Asia, to reform and lift their economies. In recent weeks, we have clearly seen that the crisis in Asia is having an impact on our economy. You can talk to any American grain farmer who will tell you that. For our economy to remain strong, therefore, we must pay our dues to the International Monetary Fund. To invest in our people, we have to give all our people access to world-class education and training, beginning with our children before their school years and ending with people who have access to education throughout a lifetime. The story Mr. Antozzi told is a moving and heartening story. There are a lot of people in his position. In a dynamic global economy, more and more people, even if they stay with the same employer, will have to change the nature of their work several times over the course of a lifetime. It is therefore very important that every person who is willing to work hard to make the most of his or her own life should be able to become the success stories we celebrate with Benny Hernandez and James Antozzi. Therefore, we have to do more than we have been doing, even though we have been making progress. The vast majority of corporate managers say the #1 prerequisite for continued prosperity is finding a way to fill all our high-skilled jobs. I'm telling you that today there are hundreds, even with the unemployment rate as low as it is, there are hundreds of thousands of jobs which are going begging, that are high-wage, high-skill jobs, undermining the ability of our free enterprise economy to maximize its benefits to all our people, to reach into all the urban neighborhoods and the rural communities and the places that it has not yet reached. Therefore, giving all Americans the tools they need to learn for a lifetime is critical to our ability to continue to grow. We are making progress in building an America where every 8-year-old can read, every 12-year-old can log onto the internet, every 18-year-old can go on to college. And today we celebrate a big step forward in making sure that every adult can keep on learning for a lifetime, where no disadvantaged child, no displaced worker, no welfare parent, no one willing to learn and work is left behind. This is the crowning jewel of a lifetime learning agenda, the Workforce Investment Act, to give all our workers opportunities for growth and advancement. It, as Mr. Goodling said and Mr. Clay said in specifying what was in the bill, has many things that will help millions of workers enhance our nation's competitive edge. Let me just mention some of the things that are most important to me. It empowers workers, not government programs, by offering training grants directly to them, so they can choose for themselves what kind of training they want and where they want to get it. There was a time, decades ago, when Congress actually needed to pass specified training programs with specific purposes and mechanisms to implement them. But that time is long since passed. Almost every American is within driving distance of a community college or some other mechanism of advanced training. And almost every American has more than enough sense to decide what is in his or her best interest, given a little good, helpful advice on the available alternatives. The law streamlines and consolidates a tangle of training programs, therefore, into a single common-sense system. And it also expands our successful model of one-stop career centers, so people don't have to trot around to one different agency after another when they find themselves in the position that Mr. Antozzi found himself in. It enhances accountability for tough performance standards for states and communities and training providers, even as it gives more flexibility to the states to develop innovative ways to serve our working people better. It helps to create opportunities for disadvantaged youth, and I think that is terribly important. Everybody's concerned about the juvenile crime rate. We need to be concerned, therefore, about the number of juveniles that are out here on the street, out of school, not doing what could be done to give them a more constructive future. And finally, it does two more things that I think are quite important. It has a real emphasis on helping people with disabilities prepare for employment, and it gives adults who need it literacy support to move ahead. You cannot train for a lot of these programs if you cannot read at an adequate level, and I think that is terribly important. What all this amounts to is that we get to celebrate Labor Day a month early this year. At long last, we're giving our workers the tools they need to move quickly to 21st century jobs, higher incomes, and brighter futures. I thank all those on this stage, all those in this audience, and those who could not be here who have worked and waited for this day. Let me also say that just a couple of minutes ago, I had the chance to sign another bill that helps all Americans share in our prosperity, the Credit Union Membership Access Act. Credit unions serve a vital and unique purposes. They make sure financial services and credit are available to people of modest means. The law I signed strengthens them, helps them to withstand hard economic times, clarifies who can join, and ensures that those who are in credit unions now won't ever get locked out. It will help extend greater credit to those who need it most. It is also good for our economy. Both these bills are bipartisan bills. They pass with overwhelming bipartisan majorities. They show what can happen when we can put our differences aside and put progress ahead of partisanship and people ahead of politics. That's a good thing because our plate is still full. In the few days remaining in this legislative session, we must still work together to save Social Security first, secure funding for the International Monetary Fund to stabilize our own economic growth, to pass a strong Patients' Bill of Rights, a very crowded education agenda built on excellence and opportunity, and an important element of our environmental agenda to preserve our environment and grow the economy. We can do all these things, and as we see today on this very happy occasion, when we do it, we strengthen our country and the future of the children over there with Congressman Romer and all the others like them throughout America. Thank you very much.
President.